What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode. I'm your boy NarikChase, and in this episode, we're going to be reviewing episode 3 of Welcome to Derry. And I did slightly mess up in the intro of this video. I wanted to say welcome to Derry instead of welcome to the channel. But having said that, episode 3, let's go ahead and dive into it. Episode 1 did a great job of introducing us to Derry. Episode 2 did a great job of fleshing out more aspects of the town as well as new characters. And episode 3 got some surprises in store for it as well. It starts off a bit further back in the past of Shaw, which I didn't realize it was Shaw at first because I wasn't really worried about the guy's name, but the general that's over the whole operation of what's going on in Derry, him when he's younger, he ends up going to this circus, and you know, this is the aesthetic is something Pennywise would probably deal with, and you're figuring, hey, maybe this is how Pennywise adopted the guise of the clown. And there's like 3 scenes while he's at the circus, because the whole time you're thinking you're going to see him. There is some faraway shots of a clown. It's just like far away enough you know it's a clown, but you can't see like any details of it. And it's holding the balloons like Pennywise does in the films. How he's holding them, the way they're formed and being held together, you're like, okay, that's Pennywise. So Pennywise is going to attack the kid. So goes into this haunted house, this little area with freaks and all of that stuff. Finds the skeleton man, which is this really bony, emaciated guy. He's kind of creepy, and he's missing an eye and everything. You can see inside his skull with his eyes. It's like that was actually nasty. Ugh. And then he was making like noises with that was actually pretty gross. So he ends up going to leaving. He got scared, left with his dad. His dad got him a slingshot. And while they were driving away, the car that they had, I guess the fuel pump went out or it ran out of water and it overheated. So he ends up purchasing water from this Indian girl along with her friends or family or whatever it is on the side of the road. And he ends up giving her the slingshot because they didn't have enough money to buy the jar of water. So he ends up developing a relationship. Kids end up developing a relationship with this that Indian girl named Rose. They're having fun. It's supposed to take place over a summer. And they're having fun and getting to know each other, just exploring and stuff. And there's a sequence where Shaw ends up running to these woods. And I guess he's just so hyped up on having fun and being a kid, not caring about danger and stuff. Rose is like, look, don't go in there. She's yelling for him to come back, and he's just going ham. So, and the whole time, you're like, okay, yep, he done stepped into the danger zone. Now, what happens? The skeleton guy shows up. I mean, he is just creepy. He's popping up everywhere. The boy can't escape. He takes off running. You see his face mutate, and you know it's Pennywise taking on the skeleton guy because the kid's scared of him. So the kid runs, gets cornered, is about to get his ass ate up. The girl saves him with the slingshot. They take off running, and well, I'm going to skip on ahead. They end up and just jump to what happens. They end up taking off running. They actually get out of the forest. Now, for some reason, Pennywise doesn't leave the forest, and the girl elaborates and tells him, hey, this thing doesn't leave the forest, so we're safe now. And she kind of gives a little bit of info on it, but not really anything like deep. So you end up jumping back to the present, and Rose is now an older woman, and she's in the middle of a bunch of Native Americans in this town hall meeting. They're talking about the military's messing up their land. And it's one of those, and I kind of like how they bring it into it's like an environmental thing, but they're also utilizing true events to kind of inspire it, but it doesn't take away from the story. It actually feeds into it. Now, part of me is like, when I'm watching it, it's like, okay, are they doing that to stop them from dealing with Pennywise or freeing Pennywise, or is it just because it is a native land? But I think it is actually because the native land. And this is how you put something like social commentary and stuff like that into a film, a movie or something, but it doesn't detract from it. It actually feeds into the world and makes actual sense. So there you can tell there's a bit of tension there because the people are fed up with the why the military there. They don't know what the military is doing there. They just know that they're there. And I think Rose does have suspicions that it does have something to do with Pennywise. So that's actually a pretty cool, interesting scene. There is a moment where Lily ends up is being discharged from Juniper Hill. She goes to school, and I feel so sorry for these kids because Ronnie's there. Ronnie is being made fun of as the kid whose father is a murderer, while Lily's just being considered a crazy kid. And you get a scene where Will is watching what Ronnie's dealing with, as well as Rich. So Lily and Lily are talking. Ronnie and Lily are talking in the bathroom, and I love what Ronnie said. She was like, give me a reason why I shouldn't be whooping your ass now because her dad is in jail, based off what Lily said. But Lily tells her, hey, this guy tricked me. So they figure out the best way to stop her father from going to jail, which he's already in jail, but from like being taken away or whatever, is that they get photo evidence of Pennywise. And because they don't have any experience with like photography, they talk to Will because of a conversation of Will and Ronnie had in the previous episode about him liking science. So Ronnie and Lily end up telling Will and Rich what they're trying to do, what their experiences is, what happened, the things that they've seen, and are trying to get them to help them. So they both think they're crazy, but they end up kind of agreeing to it. Now, on the other side of things, you see Hank, who is Ronnie's father, who's in jail, and you got Bowers, and they have a conversation. The conversation it's not a bad conversation per se. It's not in the direction that I thought it would go. And because they're like, okay, well, Bowers ends up saying that someone did see Hank outside of his home, which Hank claimed he was at his home during these murders. But he said, but when Bowers is questioning him about it, Hank is like didn't want to say where. So it's like, okay, well, you weren't at the movie theater, so where were you? And he didn't want to answer, so that sets up for another interesting thing. Okay, what does he got going on? And the way I see it, it's going to be two things. Either he removed the bodies, which he did, and Pennywise took them, and the fact that, or he gave. That's what I'm going with, because at that time period, that's like a big taboo too. But that was an interesting scene. I wish it was a little bit longer, and I wish there was a bit more being said. But I think it does tell a lot with a lot of things that weren't said, especially when he ends up telling, which was a good kind of wrap around how he did it, because he kind of told on himself too. He was like, well, I didn't, it was something, what happened? It was an area that the cops, Bauer said he was at. He said he wasn't there. But at the beginning of the conversation, they were talking about cigarettes. He tells her what kind of cigarettes he likes. Not the ones that Bowers gave him, because he gave him a cigarette. He's like, well, I don't like these. I like these certain ones. But then when the evidence, when the dude says, hey, this chick said that she saw you not at the not being at home, he's like, and look what we found at the scene of the crime, the very cigarettes you said you liked. Good wraparound, good setup. So it looks like a dad going to prison. But anyways, we get an interesting scene where Leroy, his homeboy, and now Halloran, or he's into it now. They're like, okay, Halloran, they don't know that Halloran has psychic powers, but he's supposed to be flown. Shaw says, okay, we're going to have to take this up a notch. We're going to put Halloran into the air. Leroy and his homeboy is going to take him. They're like, hey, no matter what he says, follow his directions. So he gets into the air. He touches the slingshot, the very same slingshot that he had when he was a kid. He gave it to Rose. Rose gave it back to him before he left because he was only there for a summer. He ended up leaving, so she gave it back to him, and he kept it. So he was using his psychic powers to find what they're trying to find. And then, absolutely one of the best scenes. I wish it was shot a little bit different. I wish it was a little bit more extended, but it was still one of the best scenes. Probably the best scene of the episode. Halloran goes into a vision. He sees Pennywise's lair. He looks up. He sees the dead bodies floating in the air. And I don't care what nobody says. I do like the 1990 version of it. But when they did the 2017, 2019 films, and you actually see the bodies of the kids floating in the air, and it goes back to what Penny says when he says they float down here. That was actually really good. And to see Dick down there, looking up there and seeing those dead bodies, the piles of toys and all of that, great, absolutely great scene. And it's topped only by the fact that it continues. And Pennywise is in I don't know what kind of house this is, where the toys is on top of it, and like the wall comes down. I guess it's the door. I don't know, but then you see his eyes light up in the dark, and he's like, "Who are you?" And then Halloran starts seeing all of these different events and everything that I guess you could say Pennywise has influenced because he shows up a lot of times mainly when bad things are happening, and when he shows up, like it's like a wild and out crazy stuff happens, like it's violent deaths or some crazy shit. And then he's trying to escape because I believe his mom, Pennywise, was messing with him about his mom, and his mom was up there floating and she tried to attack him, so he's trying to get out of there. And then in the real world, Leroy and his homeboy are seeing him spazzing out and everything and about to jump out the fucking plane, a helicopter, but Leroy ends up saving his life because and gets him out of the hallucination. But that was actually, honestly, the best scene in this episode. It was not saying that there were bad scenes, but that was actually really good. I kind of wished it was more extensive. I wish he kind of would have said something, but he was scared as hell. I would be too. So really good sequence. And there was a scene where, later on, he's recovering in the hospital. Shaw comes to talk with him, and then they actually say that they know the presence of Pennywise. They don't know his name. They just know it's this creature that's able to shapeshift. They don't really say what they know about him outside the fact that he takes different forms. They don't say anything about him eating kids or kids becoming missing or anything. But then it made me think, okay, well, when they say weapon, I guess they're talking about trying to find him. Maybe they're trying to find something that he has or that can control him or something. But at this point, I'm like, okay, they're trying to find him. Or they're trying to find something. Yeah, I think it is. They're trying to find something possibly that can control him, or as something he has, because they're trying not to. It's like they're trying to keep their eyes on him, and I guess make sure he's not trying to get in their way. Or I'm not sure. They do know of his presence at this point. So there's this scene where Shaw goes to visit Rose. They're both older now. They're talking, and she's telling him she put a petition. And he fed us a BS about what they were actually doing there, even though he didn't tell her the truth. He did lie to her. I kind of wish there was a bit more with them. Maybe have them where they're like walking or something. But they also dive into something else interesting that Rose says when she's a kid, and and it's kind of brought back up now when Shaw tells her that he's leaving when they were children. She says he's going to forget her. He says he's not, but she tells him that people that leave Derry end up just forgetting the further away from Derry they go, which in the lore is what happens. You leave Derry, you literally forget about Derry, everything that happens in it. Now when you come back, you start to remember, but when you leave, you literally forget everything. And the same thing happened. He ends up telling her, well, I forgot. He literally forgot about everything. Then when he got here, he started remembering. So that was actually a pretty cool scene. I would have liked to see them have brunch or something. We'll go walking, through the field or something and talk. But okay, that's actually pretty cool. So we get a sequence where Halloran goes to Leroy's home and ends up talking with with Leroy and Charlotte over dinner, and you can tell that Leroy's like something's up with Halloran. I'm not sure what it is. He's not quite sure what it is, but Halloran is talking, chatting up his Charlotte and making her laugh and stuff, and I'm like, yeah. He gonna try to get your wife, bro. She's just laughing and y'all got tension. And even that tension again kind of pops up. Because what you end up finding out is that Charlotte was an activist. She was a teacher and an activist where they previously come from. And that's one of the reasons why they kind of had to leave. And that's why she hadn't had a job and stuff like that. Or not at least the job that she wanted, because that activism wasn't seen as kind of a good thing. So, but they have an interesting conversation, and then later on, when Halloran and Leroy are talking, they both admit some truths. It was actually talked about in the previous, I think the first episode, that Halloran in the war had received a wound that took out a piece of his brain, and that piece of the brain was supposed to be that controlled fear. So he doesn't have fear. Halloran actually goes into it. Shaw actually tells him that same thing in the previous episode. And that's why when they had the gun on him in the first episode, he wasn't scared. But then there's a truth also, because the whole time, at this point, Dick kind of has psychic powers. He's reading their minds. So Leroy ends up telling him, hey, I know something about you as well. I felt a tingling thing in there a moment because I didn't tell you I had a son, and you read my mind. And he doesn't say you read my mind, but he does mention about him getting in his head. He's like, there's one other time I felt that, and that's when they was whooping my ass in the room, so you were there too. And they kind of admit to it. He was like, yeah, it was a test. And now that they know where each other kind of stand at right now. And that was actually a pretty cool scene, because he's like, I'm not going to mess over you, man. He's like, don't mess with me. I'm not going to mess over you. Especially since you can't feel fear. So it shows that Leroy is of some great importance. So I hope there is like a pretty cool dynamic with these two, and they do grow close. But Dick always seems like he just got something shady going on in his mind. I don't know if it's just the actor or just the way he's written. He just seems like he got something going on. But we get to the final act of the episode where Lily, Will, Ronnie, Rich, Lily ends up taking them to the tower that the original kids in the first episode took her. And they make a plan. They decide to go to the cemetery. Rich tells them about something called the Oishi or the Oisha or something. It's something in Cuban lore of an evil spirit. Tells them about it. They perform this ritual, and they sit out there and wait. Then it comes out that Rich was lying. Well, at least he wasn't 100% honest. So Ronnie and Lily take off. Will, Rich go after him. Now, I will say this. Now, this scene was cool, but it was kind of offset by the CGI. There's a scene where they're all riding bikes, and this is really obvious. And it's like always a face shot. That's when the CGI is like the worst. Now, you see them riding from the side and all this other stuff, it isn't. You don't see. It's not there. But the moment you see them just riding, you can tell it's in the background. So, as they're riding, there's this really cool moment where Ronnie and Lily are riding, and you can see like the path stretch, the entrance kind of stretch away that effect, and they're like, something's wrong, and as you know, the kids that died in episode 1 come back as ghosts and are haunting them, and they're trying to, and it's cool because they're running from them and they're trying to take pictures of them, and Will gets separated, and then the kids, it's a really cool scene. I think it's a good scene. Like, I'd probably give it like a 3 out of 5. Whereas in the previous episode, I would have gave that like a 4 out of 5, those two sequences. But it still was actually a pretty cool scene. You get to see the kids do that thing and run, and it's kind of a clever sequence as well to me. But Will ends up falling. I actually thought he died. I was like, God, dog, really? But he didn't. And he ends up seeing somebody's in this crypt, and he goes into the crypt. Then he gets surprised. Picture gets taken up. He manages to take a photo, and they all manage to get out of there. And they break into the school, and since Will does have a bit of knowledge, and I think he had a book as well, he had some kind of instructions, I want to say, on how to like do the film back in the day, because then you need the red light and the water and the chemicals and stuff. And they end up showing the photos, getting the photos done, and then the first of them are the kids, the ghost kids. You're like, whoa, okay, so they actually took the pictures of them. But then the last picture is where they see Pennywise, and it isn't fully, you don't see like the full visage of him, but you do see it's his shape with the glowing eyes. And I want to go back at the beginning of the episode when Shaw's a kid, and it shows the clown with the balloons. And they actually do show who that clown is, and it's not Pennywise. It's a little girl, but the girl is made up. Has the looks is like the clothes and makeup and everything of Pennywise, so we don't know if that's actually him or if that's just somebody else. But I'm like, okay, I think it's actually him because he can take guises and stuff. So it's like, why not? Why that wouldn't be him? But he never really talks. He never really does anything Pennywise-y, so you're not really sure if that's him. I'm like, yeah, there's got to be him, especially with the balloons and everything. So that was actually pretty cool. They got a picture of Pennywise. It's kind of in the dark, kind of further away with glowing eyes. And kind of, you can see the clown makeup and stuff. And it's not the clown that we see in the 2019 version. It seems like a different clown get-up. Similar to the clown get-up in the episode earlier. So, or, just throwing it out there too, maybe that girl got ate by Pennywise. And Pennywise liked the makeup, so he took that clown. But I don't know. So anyways, this episode was off the chain too. There was a lot of revelations. Honestly, one of the best scenes in the entire series is when Dick is in the sewers with Pennywise. That was actually pretty cool. I just wish it was a little bit more. Maybe not show Pennywise, because I think the fact that they didn't show him was actually really, really cool. But just have some dialogue back and forth. But anyways, I'm going to give episode 3 4 out of 5. Alright then, guys, let me know your thoughts. You already know who's your favorite character of the episode. Mine is Ronnie. I actually do like Ronnie. I think she's a really cool character. I like Halloran. I think he's actually coming around as well. And Rose is an interesting character that I want to see as well. But anyways, let me know your thoughts. Be sure to hit that like, share, subscribe, and the notification button to get the best what we got going on this channel. We'll definitely catch you guys later.